So, it's fall. It's fall, time for kickoffs, time for football. I went to a game yesterday, and kickoff time, we did this thing, we went, go blue, one more time. Every kickoff, well, one more time. And it's one more time for us too, as we have our stewardship campaign. Every year around this time it rolls around. So you have one sermon a year where you have to listen to me talk about money and gifts of other kinds. Just one. And hopefully it's going to be one that is fairly enthusiastic, because the name of this one is Nurturing Our Congregation with Enthusiasm. Now, most of you know that I'm a pretty enthusiastic person anyway, but I'm going to try to be especially enthusiastic about this today. Because in whatever I do, I try to do it with enthusiasm. And people know me in different roles in my efforts to do that. You all know me in one role. I wear different hats. So who or what is Jane Page? For most of you, I'm a minister. I'm the person that's up here on Sunday morning. I have my stole on. I'm sharing with you. So she's a minister, right? But for many folks, and I ran into some folks yesterday like this, they were saying, you know, they knew me from times past. They were my students, perhaps. And they say, you know, I thought she was a college professor. And there are many folks that don't even know I'm doing this. I ran into folks yesterday when I was visiting out at Georgia Southern that said, well, how are you enjoying your retirement? You know. So they know that I'm a college professor, and maybe I'm a retired college professor. But there are actually many folks in this town that know me in another way, wearing another hat. And they say, no, isn't she that crazy eagle lady? This is how they know me. They don't even know my name. They just know that this is the woman that wears the blue sparkly hat. There I am. This is the woman with the blue sparkly hat. This picture was taken to me yesterday with the eagle on my head. Who goes to the ball games, and she sits down on the front row near the 50-yard line, and she's kind of crazy. That's who I've been for many, many years to many people, is just that crazy eagle lady. Because I've enjoyed it. I really was not in favor of Georgia Southern getting football. But they got football, and I got involved and got enthusiastic about it. So since they started, I was involved. When in the very early days, my family even went to all the away games. We were there at every game because my little son, Fred III, who's now in his 40s, was a little ball boy. So we followed him around everywhere they go and just had the best time with him. And I became very enthusiastic at the ball games. Now, this is a man, his name is Dave, and the folks that know me as the crazy eagle lady think that this man is my son, or either my much younger boyfriend, I don't know. Because they see us on the sideline, we're jumping up and down, hugging, but actually Dave is my longtime fan mate, I guess. You know, we have nothing else in common. We cancel out each other's votes when we go to the poll, I can tell you that. But we have football in common. He started sitting with me when he was a college student because he saw me over on the student side where I'd been run off from the home side. So I was on the student side, and he said, let's go sit with that woman. So he and his friends came, and we got a group together, and we would just have a good time being enthusiastic. Eventually, after he was graduated and been out for a while, his wife told him, I think we need to move over with the adults. And I said, I can't go back over there because they'll make me sit down. He said, oh no, you don't understand. We're going to take the whole group over there together. And we did. We took the whole little rowdy, screaming eagle group over. And so the folks all around us either had to move or they had to get with it. And they did. And so now if you look in Section D, there are a bunch of very enthusiastic people there. You won't see me as much because I have gotten so passionate about my ministry, and I go back and forth to Brunswick, so I'm not there all the time. But you will see Dave. And I was going to say, you see now they're waving a flag, but yesterday they wouldn't let him bring the flag in. He did go back out and get it. He kind of does things like that. But that's the new rule, no flags. But we do it with enthusiasm because nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. So says Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now, Ralph Waldo Emerson is one of our folks, you know. He was a Unitarian minister. He eventually decided not to do that anymore and just did his own writing and other kinds of things. But he was a Unitarian minister, Ralph Waldo Emerson. But Ralph Waldo Emerson is not the person I think about when I think about enthusiasm. I just don't. He's not who comes to my mind. This man comes to my mind. This is the person that I think about. This is the legendary coach, Irk Russell. I got to know Irk when he first came here, and because we went to all the games and we hosted the officials, my now ex and I used to host the officials. We would fix some refreshments and take them around and try to make them feel good about Georgia Southern. So we got to know, and Fred III was a ball boy. He used to carry Irk's headphones around. So we got to know him very well. And I was just enthralled with the man. I'd never seen anybody be able to do the kinds of things he did, especially in terms of motivating and encouraging and how enthusiastic he was. I could tell you lots of stories, but I'm just going to summarize it by showing you a video. Now this video, Irk didn't like it because he didn't like a lot of attention on himself, but I like this video, and let's hope this one works, okay? Here we go.
We're going to play one more time!
Every day at practice time you could see him arrive. He stood 6 feet tall, weighing 225. He was bald at the top and narrow at the hip, and everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big Irk. Big Bad Irk. Everybody seemed to know where Irk come from when he drifted into Statesboro after 81. He didn't promise much, but as time went by, we knew that pretty soon we'd see the eagle fly for Big Irk. It was Northern Iowa back in 85, said you Southern guys won't get out alive. Monty Sharp and Harris and Tracy Ham sent the Iowa boys home to watch on ESPN for Big Irk. Big Bad Irk. Then came the game with the title on the line. Furman jumped his pad and fans started crying. Players were praying, Furman scored on a pass, and everybody thought that we'd breathed our last ever. With 14 seconds left to play in time, we had one chance left, it was do or die. Tracy Ham scrambled from a would-be grave, and his pass to Frankie Johnson won the football game for Big Irk. Big Bad Irk. In 86 we were back in it again, but nobody'd ever had back-to-back wins. Carolina, Nickel State, and Reno were dropped, and now there's only one team left to stop Big Irk. Just mail us the trophy, said Arkansas State. We can stop Tracy Ham, he ain't so great. With offense and defense and ham bone we won. Georgia Southern 48, Arkansas 21, Big Irk. Big Bad.
Big Bad Irk, that's him. He had a way of motivating folks that was just unbelievable. Now here you see him, you see the blood on his head. He used to do this a lot at University of Georgia when he was the defensive coach with their junkyard dogs. They would butt heads with the helmets, and then he'd get scabs on his head, would break open, blood would come down. Of course, they would just get all hyper about that, actually drawing blood. Well, anyway, you could understand how that might motivate a bunch of young guys. So later on, though, when he came to Georgia Southern, I saw him do it maybe a couple of times. His wife said, "You can't do that anymore." Jean did. She said, "Don't do that anymore. You got to find some other way, but don't do that." Now, I interviewed him because he had a lot of ways he motivated people. I saw him on the field, he'd get them all together, and he'd do something like pull up his shirt and act like he was turning a knob, and they would get all excited. I interviewed him one time about when I had gotten a teaching award and we had to do a presentation. So I interviewed folks I knew were good teachers and asked them what they did. And he said, really and truly, even though he had these little gimmicks, yes, that the reason his players played so well and that he would do things to help them was not so much the little gimmicks he did, but was more because he really liked his football players. He said, I care about them, and they know that I care about them. And when you care about your players, and teachers care about their students, they're more likely to do anything for you if they know that you care about them. And I think that was very true of her. Nowadays, you can see folks still with the headbutting thing. They reverently will put their head down now on this bust of Irk. Of course, Irk passed away several years ago, but they will still do this out at Paulson if you look at it. And it motivates them to go out and win one more time. Irk says, when you don't have the best of everything, make the best of everything you have. And that indeed is what he did, because when he came to Georgia Southern, they had nothing, not even a football. So he really had to make the best of what he had. And one of the ways he did that, he would get out there and do things with them. You saw him on the Big Bad Irk video, doing the exercise with them, running with them. My son, who was an equipment manager ball boy, said when they would be putting the equipment stuff up, it would be raining. This is JD's dad. He was a little boy at the time. It'd be raining hard, and all the players, everybody would be, and the assistant coaches had maybe gone back in. Irk would still be out there with them, putting the equipment up. That's the kind of thing he did, and that's what made the big difference more than the gimmicks. But he did have some gimmicks. His most famous one was when he used one of these, a rattlesnake. He brought a rattlesnake in and dropped it on the table and watched the guys run out. And then he said, all right now, you guys, you got to think about cocaine in the same way, and drugs is the same way. That's a rattlesnake. It's poisonous. And when you see somebody come put something on the table like that, you need to run just like you did when you saw this rattlesnake. They never forgot that. Years later, they talked about it. They said, I'm not touching that stuff because I think about that rattlesnake. He also had T-shirts he would make up. And this is one of the, and he'd put his little sayings on the T-shirts. And I thought about those T-shirts. You still see them over and over again at different times, people wearing them. And I thought, you know, to me, Irk Russell T-shirts are almost sort of like sacred text. We could take that sacred text and we could use that to think about how that might make a difference with us and our congregation. So this one said, runts have to try harder. And I thought, well, what could that mean to us? Runts have to try harder. We're sort of a small church. We don't have many folks. We're not some big church with some huge budget. So we have to try harder. We have to think of other ways to do things. We wanted to help with Rebecca's Cafe. We didn't have enough folks to do it. We joined with another church. We have to try harder. But we can do good, positive things. But runts have to try harder. Another one he had is big team, little me. Do you know who that is with him? Anybody know who that is?
Herschel Walker?
It's Herschel Walker. So it's not one of our guys. This is from when he was at the University of Georgia. Herschel Walker was a big star player. So somebody like Herschel Walker really needed to have a shirt like that. So they could think about it in terms, it's not about me. You got to think of the team, the overall big picture, not about little me. And that's true here in our congregation. What are our big, broad goals? Maybe not what is my one little thing I especially want. I may not get that. But what are the bigger things? Look at the bigger picture and look at the whole congregation. Big team, little me. I actually had a presentation I did at UU on that. Maybe my second thing I preached here. And you can go back and look at my sermons on big team, little me many years ago. So, what else? Probably one of the more famous ones is this one. One more time. When I did the kickoff, you heard me say, Blues go blue. One more time. He started that again when he was at Georgia. That T-shirt he wore and wore and wore, as you see. And he wore it out. And he even wore it a couple times or more here at Georgia Southern. But he made some more up and had them wear them. And what does it mean? One more time. Well, it's basically you're looking at what we've got to do right now, that one game, maybe even that one play. Just, you know, I do have goals on down the way, and they did too. They might want to win a championship, but you can't be thinking about that all the time. You've got to be thinking, I'm at third down. I've got to make the next down. I've got to make that tackle. I've got to make that play. Just one more time. Just one more time. And then again, just one more time. Just one more time. And then you have it. Just one more time. And we still yell that as well. And then this one. You see this a lot now too. G-A-T-A. G-A-T-A. What does that mean? Well, for the football players, it means get after their something. When he would be in polite company, like he would be speaking to a group of folks with a lot of ladies around, he would say it meant get after their anatomies. I don't think that's what he told the players, though. But when he would be at fundraisers, and he would be the speaker, he would say it means get after their assets. Right? Get after their assets. So that's my message, I guess, and what I'm trying to do today. I'm trying to get after your assets. Your financial assets and your assets of time and your assets of talent. Get after their assets, he says. That's what you have to do. Get after them. Get after them. And that's what we've got to do. G-A-T-A. Get after our own assets. Because, you know, we have many great blessings. Each of us do. But one of the great blessings we can have is as a giver. Giving to that greater good. And that we know the greater good that UU stands for. And that what we can do when we stand on the side of love together. So this place is a place that we can grow the values that help us to do good with other organizations and things that we're part of. So our most meaningful gifts really should be here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Statesboro. But, you know, we're more likely as Unitarian Universalists, instead of thinking of this as where our major meaningful gifts should go to, we think about this like another charity sometimes. So at the end of the year when we're writing checks, okay, I'll give to the Red Cross, very good thing to give to. I'll give to Safe Haven, a very good thing. Many, many good possibilities of things you can give to, and I'll write my check to the church. But that's not what this should be. This is your faith home. This is your faith community. And it should be near the top. Near the top. But in fact, I think it should be the top of the charities you give to, of course. I would say that. So even though Unitarian Universalists, though, and I've shared this last year and had some people question me on it, but it's true. Even though Unitarian Universalists are near the top in income of different denominations, they're dead last in their giving. Let me say that again. Although Unitarian Universalists are near the top in average income, I think the Episcopals are the top. We're near the top in average income. We are dead last in our giving among 23 major faith traditions in the United States. Dead last. So, you know, why is that? A lot of places, you know, they even emphasize giving a tithe. But we even are proud sometimes. I hear people say, we have very low expectations. And they're proud. We have very low expectations at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of States. We don't expect much, you know, very low expectations. But we're proud of it. And we have a fatalistic view, like we can't do some of the things that others do. Plus, we have a consumer mindset. We come to see what we can get. You know, it's like you go to a restaurant and you think, I'm going for a meal and I'll pay for the meal. If I get good service, I may give a little tip. I think of our things on Sundays as a little tip jar here, a little tip. But we think of church like that. Okay, I come to a service, I get something out of that. I get some good refreshments, you know, I have to think about that. We have our children taken care of. I think about that. And we give according to what we can get. Personally, each one of us. When we should be looking at a bigger, broader application. Actually, if we would just give according to what we got, we'd be doing a lot better than what we get now. Okay? Because you think about, what would an event like this cost you? What would, if you went to it? What would refreshments and good coffee like we have cost you? You know, good fair trade coffee. What would it cost you for someone to teach your children? What would it cost you to have an outstanding musician play for you? You know? We don't even give like consumers, much less in a bigger way. So I'm here to cheer you on. Here I am. Yes, I've got the Spirit. I have got the Spirit. And I'm here to cheer you on. Because after all, folks, whose house is this? Yes. Whose house?
Our house.
Whose house?
Our house.
Whose house?
Our house.
Yes, it's our house. It's our house. And this is our old house. We're in our new house now. But this congregation is a place that is yours. A place to nurture your own spiritual growth and that of others, including those wonderful children we have here, both internally and beyond. And to do that, we need for you to share your time and your talents and yes, your treasure as well. I truly believe that with our new home and increased visibility, and we have space for increased activities, we truly are standing on the edge, I think, of something great. We can be more than just a little chalice. We can be a great beacon on a hill, shining our love, standing on the side of love. We can be a lighthouse in this community. But to do that, we need for you to share your gifts. So what should we give? We're going to give you some pledge cards which have some giving guides on the back of them. And you can look at that, and that gives you a hint about maybe according to what your income is and what your level of support is, what maybe you would want to give. But I'm also going to give you a special challenge this year because it's our 30th year in existence here in Statesboro. 30 years we've been here. So here's a challenge. I'm going to give you 3 possibilities and hope that you might take one of these. James challenges. Let's see. The first one is give 5% or more of your income. 5% or more of your income. Well, most churches ask for a tithe. Why don't we ask for a tithe, 10%? Well, for one reason, many of us do give to other very worthwhile organizations. So it could be that we could try to think about it in terms of 5% for your faith home and the other 5 for other kinds of things that you're involved with. It's going to take something for some of us to get up to 5. So you might start with 3 and move up toward 5. And some of you already give more than that, by the way, So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying this could be a challenge for some of you. Look at your income level and see if you can give 5% or more of your income. Here's another challenge. If you don't like that one, I give some or. It's our 30th birthday. Increase your pledge by 30%. When we did that at 25 years, and some of you did it. Now, for some of you, increasing it by 30%, it still would not be as much as 5% of your income, even if you increase it by 30%. So give a thought to that. When you get home, get your pencil and paper out and look at the challenges and see if you might meet one of these. Or, here's a third one. Some folks say that you should look at what you give to your church by what you use, how you spend money in other ways. Like one person suggested that it should be somewhere between your cable bill and your car payment. Well, of course, not everybody has cable, right, or something. So I decided, well, another way to think about that may be power us up by pledging an amount that matches your average monthly power bill. What is your average monthly power bill? So if you live in a great big house and you use a lot of electricity, that's more, but maybe, I would assume maybe you can afford a little more. If you're Larry, he's got his in Savannah now, so I think he would pay very, very little. But if you're folks like, for instance, Greg and I, we've got our power bill down now, so because of our insulation, I would be embarrassed for us to just give our power bill. We need to do better than that, But for some of you, that's a good challenge for you, to think about what is my power bill, and can I power my congregation the same way I power my home? So take your pencil and paper down after you get your pledge card and go home with it, and look at all 3 of those challenges and see if you might meet one of them. Now then also in your envelopes that we want you to take home with you, we have a form for you to mark how you can share with your time and talents. We have to be very careful with that because, we have some folks who share so much of their time and talents, they get burned out with it, and then they pull back away from us because we've burned them out. So we don't want to do that. And those, of course, are the chickens, the chicken and the hens, we need more people in the barnyard to get involved so that we can have more folks involved in the things we do in the community. You see the top one, Rebecca's Cafe, and the things we do in our congregation. How can you share? We've got some possibilities, some teams for you to volunteer to get on, and then some things within those teams that you might be willing to do even if you're not on that team. Folks, I have an infection. Usually if I have an infection, I try not to breathe it on people. But I want you to catch it. I want to breathe it out on all of you. I got a bad case of this, and I want every one of you to catch this infection. Now, I'm not going to tell you about the infection myself. I'm going to let the man tell you. No, not God. Eric Russell.
Most everybody can measure up in height, weight, and speed. The difference makers are those that have those great physical characteristics along with that burning desire to excel, a big heart, the great attitude. We call it a bad case of the wants. And winners always have a bad case of the wants. Have heart. Be a winner.
Only thing left to do now is to just do it. Okay? Good luck.
So I've got a bad case of the wants. A bad case of the wants. And what do I want? Well, I want when someone says, we don't have church mice, but I see we have some church bugs back there. I think we need to get the exterminator. I want to be able to say, that's no problem. We've got money in the budget for that. You know, we can do that without a problem. When we realize after talking to a water expert that the reason our water is yellow is because we got to have it pumped at the tank, pumped out good, because we let it sit for 2 years without water going in and out of it. It's got too much iron in the sides of it. We want to be able to say, we can do that. That's not a problem. When Bill says, I'm going to be out of town, I can't clean up Rebecca's cafe, we need to be able to say, we've got other volunteers. That's not a problem. We've got plenty of volunteers. Somebody says we need more child care help. We've got a budget for that, or we've got volunteers for that. Somebody says, I've got a great idea for a project in the community, but it's going to take money and people. We can say, wow, that is a great idea. We can do that. Someone says, my child really wants to go to Youth Con at the mountain, but it costs a good bit and we're going to need a scholarship. We need to say, we've got that covered. We've got that covered. Your child can go to the mountain. That's my bad case of the wants. Right now, when those things have come up, we'll do it again this afternoon at board meeting, we kind of scratch our heads. Let's see how we can figure out how we're going to do that. My case of the wants is to be able to do those very basic, necessary things that we know we need to do. I want you to catch that infection too. I want you to be like those barnyard animals. And when the chicken says, who will help me support this congregation with enthusiasm, the whole congregation will say,
I will.
that wasn't good enough. Who will?
I will.
All right, I will. Thank you.